So in preparation for the project that we have coming up, you're going to need to do this exercise in your visual journal that has your Bristol paper. You'll need brushes, acrylic paint, a jar for water, some paper towels, a ruler, and your Bristol paper. So we're going to create a color wheel and also some value scales for an analogous color scheme. Let's start by looking at what a color wheel looks like. So mine isn't perfect, but I drew a circle and I'm doing 12 wedges with all the colors. I'm starting with yellow as my primary color and moving to yellow-green. So to make yellow-green, I take yellow and add a tiny little bit of blue to it, just a little bit. It has to be on the yellow side. Next I'm going to make green, so I'm adding more blue to that. And then I'll be making blue-green, so obviously adding more blue. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to clean my brush really well and go in and do blue as my second primary color. And from there it goes blue-violet. So I'm going to take a little bit of red, just a little, and add it to the blue. It should still be on the blue side of things. So just a little bit of red. Next is violet, and I'm going to take more red and add it to the blue. And then red-violet, so clearly I'm going to add quite a bit more red, and you can see the difference there. Then wash my brush really well and go with straight red for my third primary. And then for red-orange, I'm going to take red and add just a little bit of yellow because, again, it's a red-orange, so you need it to be on the red side. Then for orange, I'll add a little bit more yellow to that. And for yellow-orange, I'll add even more yellow. Pretty easy, doesn't need to be perfect, but you do need to try to get those colors as appropriate as possible. And then the next thing I'm going to do is value ranges or value charts. I'm choosing 3 analogous colors. You can choose 3 or 4 for your projects, which will make sense when we get to that next week. But I'm choosing blue, blue, green, and green. So I have made 6 squares. You can do more if you want to try to practice more value ranges, but I'm doing 6. So I start with just straight blue out of the tube and I add a little bit of white to it. And you can see I've painted the white square at the end because that's where we're going to end up. And so we're needing to make a gradual shift from blue all the way down to very, very, very light blue. And when you get the paint down, you might have to adjust it here and there, go back and adjust, but the idea is to have a nice gradient. So I'm just adding more white as I go along. So you can see the square next to the white is really light, but it's too much of a jump from the one before it. So I'm going to kind of mix a lighter blue and just try to make my ranges a little bit more cohesive. They should just be the next step in from dark to light. And again, I'm only doing 6 steps. You can do 9 or more if you want, but we need to have at least 6. And I'm going to do this for each one of the colors in my analogous color scheme. So next is blue-green. So I'm mixing a green but more on the blue side, starting with the darkest color, and then I'm going to add just a tiny little bit of white as I go for each square. And again, if you need to adjust, go ahead and do so. The closer you get to the white, you might notice like, oh, there's too big of a jump between these 2 shades, so I need to adjust, and that's normal. Again, this is an exercise, so it doesn't have to be perfectly neat, but you do need to have a good grasp on the values that you're creating. So I'm going to go back and just kind of paint over because it's a little bit translucent. I want it to be a little bit more opaque. And then the third one I'm doing is going to be green. And you guys will see me mix that in just a minute once I clean up my blue greens. So here we go with green. I'm just mixing a straight green in there, applying it to that first square, And again, I'm just going to add a little bit of white and a little bit more white each time I want to move up in value to a lighter value. And the great thing about acrylic is it dries fast and you can paint over it. So again, if you need to make an adjustment once you've gotten your scale done and you think, oh, that's not right, if you need to make an adjustment, go ahead and paint right on top of what you have. It won't hurt anything. The idea is just to make sure that you understand how to create these different values, because you'll need to know how to do that for the next project that we're doing. And then when I'm all finished, I just wanted to clean everything up a little bit. So I took a black, like a micron pen or a Sharpie fine point, and just drew around the color wheel and the wedges and just kind of cleaned up my value charts by having a nice black line at the bottom. I just wanted things to look a little bit cleaner and neater. But again, this is an exercise, so don't be too messy, but it doesn't have to be super perfect. The focus is really on understanding how to create values and how to mix colors. And so there we go. There is the color wheel and my analogous color scheme, my 3 colors that I chose: blue, blue, green, and green.